Okay. I'd like to open the Townsend Water Commissioners meeting of October 16th at 7:04 p.m. We'll read the following. On March 29th, 2023, Governor Healy signed into law a supplemental budget bill, which, among other things, extends the temporary provisions pertaining to the open meeting law to March 31st, 2025. Specifically, this further extension allows public bodies to continue holding meetings remotely without a quorum of the public body physically present at the meeting location, and to provide adequate alternative access to remote meetings. The language does not make any substantive changes to the open meeting law other than extending the expiration date of the temporary provisions regarding the remote meetings from March 31st, 2023 to March 31st, 2025. TCAM is recording this meeting and will upload it once it's all set to YouTube. Roll call members present. Todd Melanson, Chair, present.
Nathan Madela, Vice Chair, present.
Could I have a roll call of all residents and other members present, starting with you, Dave?
Dave Ishak, Superintendent, present.
Chaz?
Chaz Sexton Duranian, Selectman Liaison.
Lou?
Lou Sirocco, Tie and Bond.
Okay. Brian?
Brian Kiley, Tie and Bond.
Okay. Jackie Smith, could you please announce, please?
Hi, Jackie Smith. Resident.
Jackie, do you mind giving us your address or no? You don't have to.
It doesn't matter. 11 Scales Lane.
Good enough. All right. Thank you very much for all that.
Chair, before you proceed, Mike Schrader, does anybody know him?
That's ours.
Yes, that's ours. That's Tie and Bond as well, please.
Okay.
Let's just wait for him and we'll have him announce. Mike, when you get a second, just announce your name and who you're with, please.
He's not in yet. He's still in progress, I guess.
All right. We'll wait a sec. All right. We'll instead of holding this up, we'll wait for him to get connected, and then he'll announce himself. A chairman's addition and deletions. I do have one that kind of came up today. A lot of what was attached to the agendas on the policies and stuff like that, and certain other things. I've actually looked into it. We can't talk a lot about most of this stuff in open meeting. It would have to be an executive session. So, I'm going to table it until such time as we can set up an executive session, maybe at the next month's meeting or what have you. But a lot of the topics on there are town policies that have to deal with personnel matters, and they should be dealt with in executive session. So,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
So I understand what you're saying about that. I don't think we need to table these. We should definitely talk about them, and we don't need to go into substance with anything that could damage the bargaining unit.
So the policies and stuff, I'll give you some leeway on it. The union contracts that are listed, the MOUs and stuff like that, we cannot.
Sure. If we do find something to be a cross, we do an executive session and we find something to be a that crosses over, we can deal with that in an executive session.
Okay. Let's see. We have Well, review correspondence. I didn't see any, but we do have appointments. So I would go to 2.1 Jacqueline Smith, 11 Scales Lane, count number,
Sorry.
concerning meter reading. Mrs. Smith, I'll let you take the floor.
Hi, how are you guys?
Not too bad.
Thank you. I had called back in when we received our June bill, and that was the reading between March and June, and it was an estimated reading, and I was kind of blown away. We had been conserving our water. It had been a really wet summer. We hadn't used a lot of water, but we were expecting a lower bill. We had been trying to conserve with all of our bills, and I've been looking over all of them with a fine-tooth comb, not just the water, utility, everything, because everything has skyrocketed. And we had a large estimated water bill. It was $618.90. And that was, what was the usage? It said we used 6,000 was our total usage.
Okay.
Hold on. Can is that 6,000? Can you read the first two numbers? It's six what?
Are you looking for the account number or the usage?
The usage.
6,000 even, it said for an estimated usage.
Okay.
I called the water department and they said that we were in need of a new water meter, and that's why our invoice was estimated. I don't know, actually, how long do those typically last? Because our meter had just been replaced like 8 years ago. I thought they lasted longer than that.
So the regulations states it doesn't matter how long the meter actually lasts. The water conservation standard sets a 10-year limit. But I also know we're switching over, and some of the meters that were changed out earlier, it was just the head that got changed and not the actual brass part of the meter. And I'll let Dave finish, but those are two of the reasons why meters get changed out. I also know, and Dave will explain, we are changing over to new meters. So I'll let him take over if I overstepped or misstepped.
No, they did explain some of that to me, I guess.
Okay.
I was trying to figure out why it was estimated. I was a little upset at that. I guess a lot of townspeople's meters were estimated that billing cycle. And I don't think it was really broken. I'm kind of guessing that they were all estimated. Maybe everyone was busy, and that's fine. But anyways, I had called and she said that they would read my meter for the next billing cycle, and whatever was overcharged, if it was, would be compensated on the next bill. So I thought that was fair. I mean, it is what it is. We had our meter replaced. We got one of the new digital ones. And I got my new invoice, and my discrepancy was that I did the math and it wasn't estimated. We were not compensated for what we were overcharged fully.
Okay.
The 6,000 put us in the top tier. We were paying $18.19 per unit of water towards the end. Our next meter reading was exactly, we estimated it exactly, and ironically, our next meter reading was exactly, I can read it right here, 353314, which brought the meter reading exactly to 353,400. So that would mean that we used 8,000 water usage. I don't know how you guys, it's not gallons, I know that.
No, it's cubic feet.
Yeah. We used 8,000 cubic feet between March and September. So in my belief, I think we should have been compensated. We never would have even left the third tier. So we were overcharged. I did the math. We should have only been charged at the third tier for both of those times. And they said that they weren't able to fix it. I had to come to the meeting, which is fine. And I'm kind of glad they did, because I was able to go over the last 3 years of bills, and I have some questions on those as well.
Okay.
But to address my first issue, I figured out that I was overcharged by $40.80 on the billing, which is $40, but it's still $40.
Nope.
We were a few weeks late on the payment because we weren't expecting a $620 water bill. So we were also charged interest on our overcharge as it was, and I don't really care about that. That's probably pennies, but that's just to
It's
say that
salt
the
on the
tier
wound.
thing, it is, and I honestly don't think that the tier situation personally is a fair billing practice, especially if the invoices are going to be estimated, and if they're going to be adjusted at the next billing cycle, they need to be adjusted accordingly along with the tiers.
I agree with the adjustment. The tiers is a standard practice, and it's, if we want help from the state in terms of the SRF and stuff like that, we really had no choice. The tiers promulgate water conservation, and I'll say it's just an industry standard that most, if they're not already doing, are going to.
I know, but I think everyone who had an estimated invoice that time, if
No,
they
you
didn't
know,
sell water, they
on that part, you are 100% correct, and it should have been corrected. They are right that they can't make adjustments to those. It has to come to the board.
So all
So
of the citizens that overpaid and all of like the older people, for example, who might not have access to like learn how to do this or get on a Zoom meeting, like they're
It
just gonna
has
fuck
to-
it up
it-
and overpay.
Can I address that one?
Yep, go ahead.
More people underpaid than overpaid. There's a few people that, because we used last year's billing, as an estimate for the spring.
Well, she
And
showed me they use 2 years, and we actually have two less, a few years worth of cycles. We have less people living in the house. We have definitely
but-
shortened our water. And
but what I'm saying is there's been more people who were underbilled for the quarter. You're just one of the outliers.
Dave, did these get because the meters stopped, or because there were a meter that needed to be replaced?
Put it this. We'll go this way. When they allegedly changed the meters, they didn't change the meters.
They changed the head, not the
They
brass.
changed the radio. They did not change the meters. The meters are 30 years old, and the system no longer supports the hardware.
Okay.
And we're waiting. We've been waiting for 6 months for new hardware, and it's just it's still going to give us issues from time to time
Okay.
until the meters are changed out.
Estimations are good for people that have dead meters that aren't reading or anything like that. If they're meters that need to be changed out because of process, I'm not a fan of doing estimateds that way, because we end up with this problem where we're correcting multiples. If we can go back to doing door hangers or letters letting people know, I know it takes a lot of time, Dave.
Well,
Yes.
I'll tell you, it took us 2 weeks to read because we read by hand this last time. But we didn't have it all. We tried numerous times to get it that one quarter, and we couldn't get it to work. And we tried everything. So this time we did everything by hand.
All right. So if we can, we need to correct Mrs. Smith's billing, because I can't do the math because I don't have the rates or the calculations in front of me and stuff.
You just vote on it, and I'll tell you the exact amount.
Well, I think Mrs. Smith has the exact amount, but I'd also like to add the interest into that and have that removed as well.
Yeah, all you have to do is vote on to waive interest.
All right. We will get to that in a minute. I think she said, was it 4082, Mrs. Smith?
$40.80.
80 cents.
$40.80, not 40.
Yes.
Did I? I'm
No,
sorry.
you said 40 and 80.
Okay. I do have one other quick question too.
Well, let's get through this because we
Hold
do
on.
have to take a vote to do it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Hold on before you do that. I'm just verifying something.
Yep.
It's $41.55.
That's with the interest?
No, you just waive whatever interest is because that
Okay.
changes day to day.
Okay.
It's
So,
$41.55 and waive the interest.
okay.
And we'll figure out the interest.
Okay, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move that I don't have an account number here.
Yeah, there is. It's 60-38-6.
Where are you seeing that?
On the agenda under 2.1 next to
Okay,
Jacqueline
no,
Smith.
all right. I was looking at the meeting packet and I didn't see a 2.1. All right. I move that we refund account number 60386, the amount of $41.55, including interest. Is that correct? That number correct?
Yes, that number's correct, but
Is it an abatement?
Yeah, before you,
yeah.
can I ask if she already paid the October bill?
Yes, we did.
Okay,
And it can be
Alright.
credited to the account for the next cycle. That's fine.
all right,
Okay.
we'll credit to the account.
Okay. I'm going to amend my motion to abate account number 60386 for the amount of $41.55 plus interest.
Second. Motion been made and seconded. A roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
All right, Mrs. Smith, you're taking care of on that on your first point. Your second point, please.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. My second point was merely a kind of a question observation. I mean, I just wanted to know what on the invoices, what's the difference when it says an estimate to actual in the read type? Because all of my readings have been in exact 100s. So I'm assuming they were rounded up, but where's the actual reading on the account? I think that's good to know. And even this new one, they said that I would see the exact readings, but it was just exactly whatever was left over from the old account to make another even 100.
Dave?
So they don't round, they truncate. So if you get to, say you get up to 100 and you
Mhm.
get to 101, so they only bill you for the 100. And then the one will carry over to the next quarter until you only get the one that actually turned over, if that makes any sense.
That's hard to invoice though with the tier system, and that could go either way depending on the billing cycle. That's hard to figure out. If I'm
Right,
trying to
but
figure
you're
out my
talking
billing.
like a half a unit or on average.
Are we limited to with what Vadar can do?
That's how all billing systems do. They don't average. If you start talking about rounding, you create errors. If you're talking about just truncating it, it always carries the reading over.
All right. In terms of where I work, it's not in cubic feet. It's in gallons.
And they truncate it.
Yeah, but it's truncated at a smaller amount, but it is truncated. It is. I understand what you're saying. I don't have a good solution for it. It's like I said, it is part of the software and the way the accounting of water goes.
I do understand that. I just, as a suggestion, I feel like if we're going to be paying in the tiers, I
Yep.
feel like people should be able to see what their exact readings are, just like I can on this last invoice, because it shows whatever our oldest, the meter
Yep.
before it was replaced was switched out. It says that meter was, when they transferred it, 353314, which is,
Yep.
a legit number. Then it says the actual number for the next one was 86, which equals an even 100 number. And to me, it makes me think like, well, what is it really reading? And with the tier system, just so I can watch my water usage, and I would personally like to see the actual meter readings
I can answer that one.
alongside with what was charged.
Okay, Dave.
I can answer that one too on the new reading system. If you have the eye on water, any day you want, you can get your exact reading.
Okay.
So
What about on my billing?
on the
Well,
billing, will it show up, or is this going to be truncated because that's
It's
the way
going
the
to be
billing?
truncated.
All right.
Okay. Well,
I will
that's
say-
good to know.
I will say we've had a lot of good reports about the ion. I'm not going to say it right, but
Eye on water.
the ion. It will also tell you, or you can look and see if you have a leak. And we've actually had a lot of people saving themselves some money doing it that way. So I would, if you haven't already, I would recommend signing up for that app.
Okay, thank you.
Is that it, Mrs. Smith, or do you have another topic?
I believe that should do it.
All right. Well, I appreciate you listening and both of us talking. If you so wish at some point, if you want to take it on, we do have an open spot on the board. I think Nathan and I have talked to anybody that's come to these meetings that if they wanted to show an interest, we'd be more than welcome to take it on. So,
Or if you know somebody.
or if you know somebody,
Yeah.
Well, no, thank you guys for hearing me out. I appreciate it.
not a problem.
Thank you, Jackie.
Thanks,
Yep, have a
Jackie.
good evening.
All right. 2.2. Mr. Schrader of Ty and Bond, you have the floor. You're muted.
Yep. All right.
We're gonna have to give them access to the computer.
Oh boy.
Don't say that.
I think you need to make me a
Yeah.
Right.
Brenda, could you make him give him the co-presenter or co-host?
I'll have to do that.
Yeah, that'll be Dave.
Oh, Dave, go right ahead, please.
Okay, if you're going to screen share, go ahead and try.
Okay. Righty. Okay. Hello, everybody. We're back. This is, I guess, an interim update, not an official total update, but we wanted to take a look at the following items. Can you guys see my screen? I'm sorry, I don't see it, so I just want. Okay, so Dave, I'm sort of summarizing your thoughts here, but it was to reduce rate increases, and that's through a combination of reworking the way the capital, the next 4 items of capital expenditures are going to be funded, to incorporate the MBTE funds, which I have a caveat here that is my assumption is that the money is under your control right now, but it's not necessarily in the account. It's not in the retained earnings, so it's not showing as the balance. And so we've come up with I guess an illustration of how one way that you could use it in a mix of funding everything and some of the new capital that's coming on. And then also incorporate the SRF design reimbursement that Mr. Vijant got for the town, which is no small feat, by the way. It's the first one I've heard of that jumped through the extra hoops and whatnot to get that reimbursed. So good for Townsend. One of the things we added in our cost estimate or projection of expenses here is a PFAS media replacement. And normally this would just go under supplies or purchase of services or one of the other categories, but I wanted to call it out because it's new and it's different and
It's substantial.
yeah, it is. And it's an estimate. It's based on the total cost of the current contract to replace the media in all 4. So we looked at maybe doing 2 at a time. We don't know if it's going to be every year. Mr. Vijant assures us he's going to get the maximum life out of his carbon. So we can spread that out maybe a little bit. But in all things, when we're looking at rates and expenses, we want to be conservative high, because then the consequence of being wrong on the high side is that you'll have more money going to your retained earnings and you can readjust down the line versus coming up short. So and Dave, these are based on your FY24, your current budget, and then the adjustments that you indicated in there for the next couple of years, and it includes the 2 additional staff and I think that's about it. Plus, then we started the the carbon replacement in 26. So, so stay with me. This is, like I said, this is us looking at, if you incorporate that money, it's over $1 million. It shoots up the retained earnings very fast, immediately, right? So we looked at ways to manage future rate increases, capital spending, and different ways to use it. So this is, I guess I would call it an illustration. It's for your consideration and continued exploration before you have to actually set rates. So again, just to connect between what we had done before, these projects were here prior, and now they're being replaced by, I don't want to say town issued projects, but the revised debt master schedule that I showed these projects in there. I'm going to show that next. So I just wanted to leave them there because they were there if people are, looking at what we did before. And again, this is more just explaining where the numbers come from, not so much that they have any necessary impact, but the SRF loan that you have for the PFAS plant, both the cost of the plant and the cost of the pipe, the raw water pipe, have gone up or had gone up since the beginning. And as far as I can tell, the SRF has stuck with the original 14.9 for your first reimbursement or your first amortization schedule. And then we're assuming that the rest of it will go into a second one during, some portion of the project. So what we're showing is that they're both at the same time, or the same start year, both the same 30 year. And you do get 0% for the whole 30 years, which is great. And then even nicer is the principal forgiveness is, there we go. You get 13.3% as a tier 2 community just right off the bat. And then you get an additional 10%.
That should have been 20.
20%. Sorry, Dave, I was just noticing my math didn't work.
That's
Additional
okay.
20% for PFAS. So you're getting a third off the principal plus 0%. So
And there's one more coming. We're just waiting for it. It's 25%. But they'll announce that in January.
they're going to start giving you money to build it. So
I'd take that.
I would too.
I know it's
I'm working on it.
it's not a bad deal. So then this is the part where it gets a little, I don't want to say confusing, but on the top here, we have two loans for old projects, 2005, 2008, that you're paying off and that are going to start ending. Gosh, I shrunk this so it would fit on the screen, but I think it ends in 28 for the second one. So you're dropping out of your old existing debt. You've got this replacement principal for one of the bands, short-term borrowing that is going to persist at $75,000 a year. And then this is the projects that I said were replaced. So the town had 3 of them in the revised master debt schedule. One of them was the Main Street project for 591, and then the other 2 was the design of the. It's both the design and the I think the construction is that SRF loan for the raw water line and then the plant. So there's a total of, it's 600 and something. No, I'm sorry, it's just over $1 million. So what we did was we looked at a couple combinations of paying for part of it as debt and then paying for the rest of it with the PFAS, with the MBTE money, in a way to, it saves you a few bucks in interest, and then it also, it brings down the balance to a more reasonable
Hey, Mike,
amount.
you got that twice. You got it in there twice. So the last 2 on the page, if you go up that borrowing, that 75,000, those 2 loans are combined into that. So the main street of 591, the 167 to 340, see where you say 75,000 and 24, 25 and 26? That's that loans, those three loans combined.
40, 60. Oh, okay. I gotcha. Well, that's the principal. So, all right. So I have to take that out because the debt schedule didn't show interest, and I apologize. That was my my confusion, I guess.
That's right.
Make a note to take that out. So it'll be slightly better.
Right. It's going to be less than that with the interest, but I put $75,000 in the budget to cover it.
Sure. Okay, so I guess this is probably neither here nor there, but the usage, you had a good year of usage last year due to a dry summer, and we're doing some speculation here between meter replacements and just general usage. We came up with 1.5% increase per year. 23 is estimated based on the revenue, and we'll get, the actual usage data when we do the actual true up in December. So I assume that for 24 on, that it would come back down to the 22 level with that 1.5%. And it sounds like, a lot of rigmarole, but usage is so important to the revenues that we actually spent quite a bit of time talking about it, thinking about it, because that will really affect your future. It's really a way to think about it is that's sort of taken away 1.5% of a rate increase because it's a tailwind instead of a headwind. So just wanted to be on the same page with that.
Mike, is this actual like usage that off of the meters, or is this raw water pump or water pumps?
Meters.
All right, thank you.
And again, it's an estimate. So when we get the actual,
Yep.
Count level usage, we can true that up, and it sounds like it's tricky. So what we're showing here is that both the SRF, the 431,000 reimbursement for the design, and the 1.027 from the MBTE money are going to go into revenue in FY24 and basically contribute to your retained earnings and take it from an estimated 187 at the beginning to 1.26 at the end of that year.
Mike, can you hold on for one quick second?
Yeah, sure.
Chaz, those funds, the MBTE funds, whatever accounts and stuff like that, do we have to move them at town meeting?
I'll have to look into that.
I've been asking that at the treasurer, and they haven't gave me an answer yet.
Yeah, my first answer is yes, but I would rather check into that.
Yeah, that was when I saw that, because from my understanding, there's two separate accounts that add up to that total.
Yep.
And actually, it's gone up because originally I think it was like 968.
It was.
So
It's over $1 million now.
yeah. So, Mike, what do they normally keep in reserve? Isn't it like?
Oh boy, that's a great question, isn't it?
Because I mean, we were doing the PFAS. We had other things that we needed to do to get the community, get it to this point and keep the water department running and keep water in the pipes. We used pretty much all of our reserves. And then initially, that's why our initial increases were so high. I don't ever want to do that again.
Right. I understand that. So reserves, the retained earnings serves as your capital reserve, your operating reserve, and really any other kind of reserve, I guess. The trick is that it's not readily accessible. You have to move money at town meeting, so it's a little difficult there.
Yeah.
We can, people say 20% of your operating expenses. without including debt. And it's really kind of what you're comfortable with too. And I think about it in terms of if you're going to be doing a lot of work and a lot of capital work, then it's nice to have a little bit higher because things have become relatively unstable in terms of pricing and availability and that kind of stuff. So what I'm showing here, and it is obviously changeable. And again, this is not a recommendation to set rates based on this. It's a sort of an exploration of a couple different options. And I wanted to point out here, I didn't a minute ago, was that first year, the 23, this year at this town meeting, you would be transferring out or paying for those 4 capital items that are right here. So it was it's these ones: 100 the trailer mounted gate exerciser, the valve exerciser rather, utility truck, the backhoe, and I think this was the 4th one, right, Dave? It comes out to
They're planning for the water tank.
Yeah, so that comes out to the 431,000. So the thought was, we're estimating, Dave and I are estimating about 600,000 would be in your retained earnings at the end of 23, which we're waiting with bated breath from the Department of Revenue.
They haven't cleared our free cash yet?
No, it'll be a couple more weeks.
And so what we're suggesting is then pay that capital, this year's capital, out of that amount, and that would leave you with approximately 187,000, which then becomes the beginning of FY24. And I'm also I'm assuming that you can transfer both of those in to your retained earnings in FY24, and at the same time spend out the 507 for those debt, those 2 debt articles. And those have already been, I believe that you're starting to make payments on those. So you have to talk to your treasurer to see, what's required to do that. But what you see is it takes it down from, it skyrockets up. This is your retained earnings level down here in yellow. It skyrockets up the year that it goes in because it's a lot of money. And what we're doing is spending it down. And really, we played with this a couple different scenarios. It's tempting to say, well, we've got this money, let's just clear out any rate increases. But what happens is you're going to a higher, I think of it almost like an airplane with elevation. You have to go to a different altitude to operate at. You're going to be operating at, $3.5 million budgets, no more $2 million. So you got to get up there. Then once you get up there, it stabilizes and you won't have to keep making increases. And so to avoid having 10s, 12s, or even more at the last 2 years of this period, we looked at, spending down that combination of the MVTE and the SRF money to avoid having a larger rate increase later, which is similar to what we do if we knew, if you had nothing coming and then a big debt starting in, 3 or 4 years. Instead of having a 50% rate increase at that first year, we'll spread it out by, sort of pulling it back, building up a reserve, and then spending down. So you're just evening it out.
No, I get that. And again, these are only estimated because, like we've done every year, it's been adjusted.
And then you adjust every year after that too.
That's what I'm saying. But I also
working the system hard.
No, I know. My thing is I did some quick math, and I'm going by the FY 31 rate revenue, would say 3.2 million. That will probably be our operating budget. 20% of that is 650,000.
Yep.
I get uncomfortable going below that 20%.
Yeah.
I know a lot of guys do the 30%, but if you do 30% at that, that's almost $1 million. So,
and that depends on
the FY 30, I'd rather stay close to that 650 and not go below it. So
that's
FY 30, yeah, but FY 30 you're down at 562.
Yeah. Okay.
So
The
that
percentage,
that one it's just if you go below it, there's no guarantee you're going to go back up. So that's a kind of the 650 would be kind of a hard line for me.
Yep.
Um,
let me just check something real quick.
And I have a question too, Mr. Chair.
okay. Once the
Okay,
answer's mine.
so just so you know, the that operating does not include debt service, which
All right.
is intentional on my part because I don't see that debt increases your risk. I think it decreases it, you know, so
No, I agree. I agree with that assessment. Hold on, Mike. Chaz, you had a question?
Yes, sir. The so you're saying that the MBTA is in retained earnings right now? And no,
I don't believe
We,
so.
we don't know where it's at. It
It's
never
in-
was put anywhere.
No, it's in two accounts that they found when the SRF did it.
Right, but it can be in two accounts. It's in a CD and a money market. But it, even if it's a CD and a money market, it still can be retained earnings. It came in as just like the 431. That is revenue,
No, but
Right.
the
right? But that it should have been revenue. But that's why it got not lost, but kind of misplaced because no one knew where it was.
Yep.
And so it should be retained earnings.
right. So
Because-
what I'm saying is it needs to go into retained earnings.
Right.
That money. So once it's in retained earnings, then the question is, Mike, you're wanting to take it out of retained earnings and put it in operating budget, or you want to put it in debt reduction?
Actually, neither. What we're suggesting is that once it goes into retained earnings,
Yeah.
that this 431 is the four items of capital that we talked about, the gate exerciser and all that.
Yeah.
The 507 is the two debted projects that were on the lower part of the debt slide.
go back
Watch
to
it
that.
come on.
What I'm thinking is, you would pay this amount, this 507. And granted, you've made a couple payments, so the issue amount isn't going to be exactly 167 and 340. But
Actually, I have a comment on that one. I've already been told I cannot prepay that.
okay,
Which
Because-
one or both of them?
Both of them, because it's also in with the fire truck and the dump truck. I was told I cannot pay that one.
this is a fast-moving.
Well, I'm glad we're doing this now, though.
2
So
hours ago we talked about it, but yeah, that's
I've already tried to see if I could prepay it, and they said no.
okay. Well, so then you could, I would think, apply it to the second installment of your SRF.
We could do that.
that would help there.
You know, you don't. In my opinion, it's good to have reserves to a point, but once it gets there, you want to have a plan for it, and I think that would be a good one too because it would help stabilize that as well.
No,
Yeah,
I agree with what you're saying, but having been on this board when we were caught with almost no money in a reserve, I don't
Yeah.
ever want this department,
Sure.
especially where we have a plant now. If something breaks, that's substantial that we need to fix immediately. I don't want us to be flat-footed. So that my
Right.
goal is to keep a decent, like that 20% is kind of like a hard line for me. I think it's foolish it may sit there and maybe there's something we can do that would increase that as it sits there. I don't know, but I don't ever want this department to be wanting for emergency funds ever again.
Well, to that point, as we, been looking at all kinds of projects and between asset management and whatnot, I think about that. And if you have, say you have a lot of infrastructure that you know is you're planning to replace it, one way to kind of hedge that bet would be to take a certain amount of your retained earnings and put it into a capital reserve account that's more accessible. So otherwise,
Yeah, that is, and I've seen it's been done in Chelmsford, and I've seen it done in about 4 or 5 other places. And that would be my ultimate goal for the department, is to have one of those accounts that,
Right.
they do fairly well. So that's tackling for another time. I was going
Right.
off your numbers and looking and stuff like that,
no,
but
it breaks on Friday, you buy it on Monday versus it breaks on Friday and you wait till town meeting and you bow and you scrape and you can go over your spending and then pay it back at the next year, but whatever.
Yeah,
Um,
that was my only question, Todd, is that if you somewhat plan knowing that it has to go to town meeting, then it gives you a better idea of how you can.
no, and I understand that. I also understand that major things, and we're adding some major things. There's what if they come up with adding some of the smaller chain compounds, and all of a sudden we're over that, and we have to, this SRF 0% interest is not coming around ever again. This is the once in a generation. So I wouldn't expect going around, like, say we get this all set up and running, and all of a sudden they say you need ion exchange. I don't want there to be any idea or any break in us delivering what is safe water, or if the tank breaks and you need to replace a storage tank immediately or something like that.
right.
They're not stuff you can plan for, and they're significant. We have significant assets now that having, 20% of your operating budget set aside is not, I don't think
Well,
it's,
if you go, supply chain disruption and you know that carbon price isn't going to stay.
no.
It's
So-
you know,
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
when we found this MVTE money,
Yep.
we had discussed at a previous meeting, basically saying that was the emergency fund. Now, if this SRF is 0 interest, why would we put any of that money towards it?
Because more of well, I'll let Mike speak.
That money is going to make a heck of a lot more for us, do a heck of a lot more for us in an account, making 5% than it is paying off
Well,
a 0% interest loan.
No, I know. The only thing is on this, we can't leave it where it is.
Right.
You need to do something else with it. But I also think having that much in an account unused where we can, because if we don't use it, the rate increases potentially are going to have to be a lot more than the 5 and 6% that I'm seeing here.
sure.
The projected rate increase for this year was what, 10%? Or for this
Right.
next year?
It was 10, 12,
I don't-
12, 12, 12, and 12.
You
I
can
don't
see it
see
across
half
the-
of this board voting for a double percent increase. But
No.
that's just half of the board. Now, so you said a capital account, what was the
We'd
term?
have to have someone that's a little bit more versed in finances and the legalities of it. I know they exist.
Yes.
I know the one that we have. I have nothing to do with it. I just know it exists. But I would say to keep the rate increases, because what this is projecting on us too is our operating costs are going to increase, and that's why the rate increases are there. Before we found this money, or the money was found, or what have you, and you are correct, that was a large part of the second year's increase was based on reestablishing that 20 or 30% that we
Right.
found. As much as we did, and I'm going to be honest with you, I'm glad we kind of found it, because I think it would have disappeared a lot quicker and would be in that much worse shape. But I think to offset the increasing costs that we're looking at, never mind capital, new debt or any of that other stuff. So long as we can keep that 20%, Nate, and we can pay down and offset that by investing it in the operating costs or whatever we have to keep the rate increases down, I think it benefits the residents more so than having a large chunk of money just.
Right.
It's not going to look right. Or how can we say we're keeping 1.2 in an account for an emergency, yet we're going to have larger rate increases? I just don't see that flying with the
That's
public.
where I was.
So these
So-
projected rate increases were before we even found that money. And we
Yeah,
had in mind of building this fund. So you take that out of the equation, the numbers should have changed. And that was with the PFAS plant in mind, not knowing how much forgiveness we were going to get. So the numbers don't look quite right to me.
They did change. They were 10, 12, 12, 12, and 12. And
So
You're
that's
saying-
what it was
you're
up the
saying
top.
On 22, it was 10.
originally it was 20, then 15, and 15,
Yeah.
15. We got it down to five last year because we found the money, and we brought it down to 5.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So we-
Previously 20.
Yeah, it was
Right.
2015.
But that's still an increase. That's not a decrease.
No,
That's
Right.
well, it's a-
increasing the rate by 20% and then increasing the rate by 5%, correct?
yes.
Right, but it was better than another 15 to 20%. And right now, this is based on just you doing the capital expending and everything else. What this doesn't account for is the lawsuit money that we're going to get, and it's coming, and the other 25% of forgiveness that will be coming. But we can't add those in there until they actually arrive.
Oh, yeah.
We
Don't
could
count
get
your
these-
eggs.
We could get
Right.
these numbers down more.
Yeah, because like the lawsuit money, to be honest with you, I think is going to get put on hold.
But just so you know, it's small victories. We're trying to get what we can control down with what we can control. And then later on, when something else comes aboard, we can bring those numbers down again.
Mhm.
You know, are we going to get it down to 0? Probably not. But can we get it down to half what these numbers are? Yeah. But right now, we're doing 58% of rate hikes, and now we're 18, 23, 21. Right? Or is it 30?
Let me show you this way. This number here, the net revenue, is the difference between the rate, the total revenue shown here, and in your total expenses, at the top. And what you're seeing, this negative number, the 573, the 460, the 322, is coming out of that retained earnings. So that's, like I said, mitigating a higher increase. Because if you spent the $1 million just in, not having any rate increases, you could go like 3 years, but then it tanked, and you would require a big increase to get out of there. So, Mr. Chairman, it's sort of what you said. I was feeling the same way, that it's a lot of money to have in reserve. So we can show that we're spending it down to sort of ameliorate a really large rate increase in the future. And to Dave's point, you've cut them in half from what we had before. So that's the plan, except for we got to retool some of where the money goes.
All right.
Didn't realize you couldn't spend those down, Dave. I'm sorry.
So, I mean, and again, it's good we're having this now where we have a long time, time to prepare before we present to the selectmen. But
We can work out those questions.
I just, like I said, Nate, tell me how you feel, but I don't think anyone would be all that happy if we put that whole amount and had that sitting there. And I think the amount we don't spend, I do think we start to talk to an investment finance person that would know the legalities, what you can't, because even inside of those accounts, there are certain things you can and cannot do it and have invested as a public entity. So that's so far out of my ballywick swing that I wouldn't even try to guess. So that would be something we would either ask. I don't even know if Ty and Bond has that, or to get an investment, a local bank in to talk to us. Like I know Enterprise Bank runs the one the district has, but that's that
Your bond
20%.
council
That 20% I was talking about, I think that would be what we put in the investment account. And then, pay down some of the stuff so we keep these rate increases where as minimal as we can. Because our operating costs, both chemical, we're going to be using chemicals we've never used before, increasing electrical costs with the plant. The change out of the GAC that's a really significant one, especially if the new federal level goes into effect. So I think I wish we could, Nate. I really wish we could, because then you could really build an infrastructure fund that, you could do some significant things. I want to find the middle ground, I guess, is my thought.
We're on the
Yeah,
same.
middle ground's good.
So I think I don't think leaving it there and then telling people you're going to still have rate increases and that are fairly significant, I don't think would float. I think if we show that we're using the money to the best of our ability to safeguard the system and the department, meanwhile trying to be responsible in the way the rate increases go, I think that will buy us good faith with the community. Nobody's going to like it. I don't like it either, but you also can't. They always should go up a little bit every year. You don't ever. Westford, I don't think they had a rate increase in almost 10 years. And they just did a 26% rate increase in 1 year. And they're going to have to do, I think, 15 this coming year.
They must have increased their budget by a whole lot.
Yeah, they're doing PFAS. They're behind the ball.
I think our budget is doubled now and going to be tripled by what I'm saying,
30?
25. No, I'm sorry, I'm reading the wrong number.
I think.
Oh, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think by 31 it'll be doubled.
Yeah. I mean, even it seems like it was climbing before we even started talking about PFAS. But
Well, it is because you've got if you ever want, you should see the chemical consortium bids. The prices of certain chemicals have jumped astronomically, and some of this is going to be due to the electrical. So hopefully we'll start to see so a little bit more savings on the electrical side from the net metering or whatever they call it now.
what are you talking about as far as the cost of chemicals? We use like
we use
chemicals.
Yeah, we use what? Sodium. Is it sodium hydroxide or
For
potassium?
the pH.
It's sodium
pH,
hydroxide.
yep.
And I hate to say it, and when the plant opens up, we will be using chlorine.
Well, you guys are currently using chlorine.
We are not.
Well, they're
At all.
dosing the tanks, aren't you?
We're dosing tanks once a month, but they gave us an extent. We were ordered to chlorinate, but we cannot chlorinate part of the town. So we were given an extension till the treatment plant opens.
Okay.
So you're gonna do regular chlorination once the plant opens.
Correct. And we will
Listen.
not be doing the tanks anymore.
We're getting a little off topic because I'm gonna
Right.
start going on a tangent.
Right.
So we're gonna start using a massive amount of chlorine, and that's
Not
gonna
a-
cost more money.
Yep.
right.
So we'll all right. We can talk about that later.
But
But-
what it comes down to is these numbers are going to improve. We improve them. They're going to improve again when the other things start coming online that we haven't got.
Right, but you can only estimate off of what we have, correct?
We only can estimate what we have. But 10% for this year, reducing to 5 is pretty damn good. And we cut every other one in half. And we can get it down more as soon as something else comes online.
Plan on 9 and 6.
What?
Said plan on 9 and 6 for the next year's.
9 and 6?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Which FY are you talking about?
Well, you just said 10% and then 5%.
Yeah,
Increase.
that's what they're talking.
We went from 10 to
Okay.
5 this year for
Yeah.
2025.
I'm saying plan on 9 and 6.
Well, we'll do 5. That's the one they're going to do, not 6.
Right.
Right.
What
but-
what they're proposing is we do a 5%. The 10% is based off a previous estimation, so that doesn't exist anymore.
Let's,
So the
let's- yeah, let's, okay.
So the one we're looking at is what they're proposing, and it'll be more fine tuned when we get to when they can do a final accounting. But what they're proposing is instead of the 10% that was proposed, doing 5%.
Right.
Oh, okay.
And then for 26, we
Five,
went from-
five, five,
Yeah. So that you
6, 6, 6, 6,
yes,
8, 8, 8,
yes,
10.
yes.
8, 8, 10.
right. Just
And
so you know, it was 10, 12, 12, 12, 12, 12. And-
Yeah,
And now it's 5, 6, 6. It's a vast improvement. And
that is a big improvement.
we can get this down even more when things get announced. And that's what we're hoping for. This is an improvement, but we're hoping for more improvement. And you know, cutting it
All right,
in
let-
half is pretty good.
All right, let Nate speak, please.
So this is fun. It's a great improvement. It vastly exceeds what I was hoping for with the changes. Certainly, we shouldn't count our chickens before the eggs hatch. Make sure that we have contingency. All this looks way better, but we got to keep in mind the image. You know, there's a lot going on. You're getting a brand new facility. We need to think about the way the image is of the water department and its operations in relation to when everybody puts the check in the mail and spends money, you know, for their water. We need to make sure that we are on point, no wasteful spending. I'm dropping the hammer.
I don't. Well, a lot of the-
I'm going to be scrutinizing the way the money is spent. We went
So-
from get GPR to maybe we should look at a more cost-effective. Do you remember that, Dave?
GPR,
Yeah, I remember. I said
the
you
ground
need
penetrating
GPR
radar.
to do this for the system. Okay, let's get it. So I'm saying that we're going to have to really scrutinize things. I don't want people saying, "Oh, look at all this money that the water department is spending for this and that," and hey, look, our rates are increasing. I want image. Todd, we were put here by the water takers, okay?
Yep.
And I want to make sure that they are everything they're paying is seen as appreciated and not just we're not spending money out of the gate.
No, and I get you.
I'm
on
trying
that,
to get my
but,
thoughts out, but I'm not conveying it properly. So
No, that's fine, and I'm with you with that. But also, I don't ever want to see us as a system the way we were. There are things, the ground penetrating radar that allows them to do what you were talking about,
Yep,
find the
mapping.
lines and stuff like that, and that's important because if you don't know where the lines are and they break and all that, whatever. But
Yep.
I'm with you on that. But a lot of what we're talking about, like the capital plans and stuff, we're starting to replace mains, putting up water storage tanks. I think when we're talking about stuff like that, we can agree that the residents will start to see the benefits of those. The equipment wise, so long as we can make a good case for it, and it's used, it's not like sitting there rusting or something like that. And it increases the safety of the staff and stuff like that.
I hear
don't-
what you're saying.
Yeah.
That a lot of it is thankless, unfortunately, and what is seen is the discolored water that comes up through people's toilets. So
Correct. And
their
that,
bills.
once we get, in looking at the system and stuff, there's some stuff that they can do once we get this plant up and running, Nate. There are hydrants that were not placed where they should have been. There are houses that, even if we had everything fixed, there would still be discolored water because hydrants weren't placed properly.
Yep.
And so when we get to the point where this is up and running and we've got a payment schedule and set, and we start to have money in this reserve, we can take care of those hydrants. That bugs the crap out of me that there's been nothing that we could do except hobble along until this plant gets fixed. I mean, we've done the stuff we can. We did the road behind Gary's.
Really?
We've done some Greeley Road. We've done the stuff on Highland. But it gripes me that we can't fix the bigger issues because those are a lot more significant. We've fixed the smaller ones. But I think showing that we're being responsible with the money, trying to showing the previous, if we did nothing, what the rates increases would have been to what they are now, I think we'll buy a certain amount of credibility. And especially if those numbers continue to come down with the other stuff we're hoping comes in. But I got no problem scrutinizing. I've always said, give me the numbers and I can defend just about everything so long as they make sense to me.
Yeah, that's what we're here for.
So I'm good with you there. All right, Mike, Lou, do you got anything to add? Or Mike?
I don't, but I will tell you that when I think of these things, what's in the capital plans and all that, I think of it as two things. One is it's usually not discretionary, and two, it's to prevent really bad things from happening. And that's really what you're trying to do, is just keep it running. So, and I have to say I'm impressed with Dave. He's pretty frugal and sharp-eyed spender. So I look forward to seeing some of that stuff come down.
So, all right. Is that the end of your Lou, do you got anything to add?
That is the end.
All right.
Nope, I think topic was well covered, and happy to talk more in depth about any of the particular line items if there are questions on those. But yeah.
No, not just yet. When we get down to the final one, maybe, but we'll go from there. All right. And by the way, I've driven by the plant a couple of times. Construction's going well, and the crew is doing a really good job. Be glad when the road is finally paved in different sections, but
Monday.
yeah.
No,
Yeah,
Monday.
They're really driving the schedule there. They had a initial schedule, and knock on wood, they're doing a good job keeping things moving.
I felt bad for the road guys this year. That was a tough schedule to keep to with the weather that they had. I'm surprised we didn't have any washouts like Leominster, to be quite honest with you.
Oh, that was crazy.
So anyways, gentlemen, thank you for your time. And thank you for the presentation.
Yes,
thank you for all the hard work.
It's good stuff.
All right.
Good working with you.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Thank you, Mike.
Yep. Have a good night.
See where we're at in the agenda.
So I'm going to jump back to 5.1. I'd like to put off approving 1.5.
1.5.
Okay.
Did it again. There was some stuff I want to correct on the minutes, so I'd like to correct those for the next meeting.
Okay.
And I'll send those over to Brenda.
Can you bring it up right now so I can follow along? Because we're in meeting.
I don't have the wording in my head, so to speak. I just wanted to add some.
What were you?
I wanted to add something. Hold on for a second. My second computer just went. All right, let's do this again. Why is it blue? I don't understand. There was some stuff I wanted to add. Not there. under 4, there was some stuff that I had talked about that I wanted added into 4. Section 4. That's not on there. So I just wanted to add what I remember, what I said in there. And that's
Okay.
all. But I want to, if I blurt things out, it never comes out right, Nate. So I'd prefer not
No,
to
that's
blurt.
fine. I just don't. I'm just trying to recall
So
the broad topic of it.
it was, the broad topic was double signatures on the SRF,
Right.
and then the actual warrants themselves was the second one. And there was some stuff that I added in there that I just thought should be in there as well. I'll take them off my notes or whatever. Out of
Well,
my
if you
head.
want, if you want, we can revisit it. And
I haven't composed my thoughts, so I'd like to table
Let's-
it until the next
let's-
meeting.
yeah, let's put a little discussion in for that, and next meeting, and we can certainly hold off. I'm fine with that.
Well, yeah. All right. Let's see. 3.1, review, discuss capital spending and warrant articles.
That's the 4:31. And the meeting is on the 14th of, is it the 14th on a Tuesday or the 17th on a Saturday, Jazz?
14th and the 18th, isn't it?
Whoa, back up.
Okay, right.
What,
Can I interject with a quick point of order? I just want to
Sure
make
enough.
sure. Do we need to vote to table that? Just to
the minutes? No,
1.5. Okay.
I don't think we do. We've never before. If we haven't agreed on them,
we don't.
we just
yeah, we
haven't
don't
approved.
generally table anything.
Well, not table, but we didn't approve. Maybe I used the wrong. If there's been minutes we haven't approved and just added them to the next meeting.
No,
We've
I know
done
that.
that vote,
I know that.
so-
I just
All right. Table was the incorrect word. So we did not approve, and they'll be on the next meeting.
okay.
3.1. Now, what were the dates you guys were talking about? That went by me real quick.
The next town meeting. Tuesday, November 14th or Saturday the 18th are the two dates that I got. I don't know if they made a decision yet or they're making that tomorrow.
Mr. Duranian?
We're talking about that tomorrow, yes.
All right. So we
Okay.
should know.
But
All
it's in 3 weeks. Or
Okay.
3.5 weeks or whatever it is.
All right. So 3.2, discuss review procedures for signing warrants.
No, we're still on 3.1
I thought we just
because
discussed.
you got to vote. You got to vote on the 431
Okay.
because that's going to get us where we can reduce the rates.
All right. Well,
Do you want me to go over it? We'll go.
so that was the 4 things in what he was talking about.
It's gonna be 5 now, but the same amount.
All right.
So $11,000 for a safety railing and cable system for Highland Tank.
All right. That's required.
That's required. That just came up, and I was told that we're not in compliance.
No, and they're correct in that assessment if you don't have
So it's
that.
11,000.
Yep.
The safety rail. I know we
Safety
talked
rail
about
and
this.
yeah.
And the cable.
is that-
So
Is that also a kick, a tow rail? So
Correct.
nothing falls off.
you
Okay.
you are correct.
Okay.
And this is also going to be equipped with you said a cable to attach
a
the
cable,
personnel.
And a
Correct.
cable and a harness.
Right.
So we got a cable in case they fall, that'll catch them. And if in case that cable breaks, we got a rail they can grab onto.
A
Yep.
rail with a kick plate.
Yep.
Yeah, the kick plate.
Right. Which is
Okay.
what you're talking about, the plate on the bottom. So nothing falls over or people slide underneath.
And I
All
don't
right.
need to say that it, or ask that it, that's going to be, obviously it's going to be OSHA compliant.
Yes.
Correct.
That-
It
Yes,
will be
okay.
OSHA compliant.
I know they have a bunch of measurements and stuff. So
Right.
Yeah, the division. So we don't actually come under OSHA.
We do
It's
now
the-
as of
No,
trust.
It's not OSHA though. It's the Division of Labor and Standards.
Right.
They separated out municipal into that. So we're not specifically under OSHA. They follow OSHA rules, but they are not OSHA themselves.
Right.
so
So-
nobody would ever show up with a white.
No, they do.
report
They
on
do. No, they do.
How does
It's
that
not
work?
OSHA.
Wait, hold on. How does that work? If you guys don't follow, it must be the
No,
same
the-
or more
The
stringent,
same-
right?
Well, not more stringent. They follow the OSHA rules,
Okay.
but they're not. They're not OSHA. Don't ask me the way they
No, I
set
get
it up.
it. As long as it's the same rules, then you shouldn't run
It's
into
the
a
same
problem.
rules.
And
They
I
would
asked a couple about the $25,000 they just paid.
Go 65 to Westford, my friend.
Right.
But anyways, that's neither here nor there. That's not a problem. What's the second item, Dave?
Number 2, the gate exerciser with the trailer mounted gate exerciser with the vacuum,
Okay.
100,000.
I'm
The-
sorry. One more time, point of order. I'm looking at these documents that are labeled 3.1, but I'm lost as to where you are on this.
Hold
It's on the last one. It's actually also on 6. It's 3.1.
Okay. No,
And
I got it.
There's a revised one that went out, and I think it actually got thrown under 6.4, but they should have been both 3.1.
Okay, 6.4 you said?
Right. There was 61,000 going to the planning for the tank, but I need 11,000 because the safety rail.
Yep.
came up.
All
So I split the 61,000 to 11,050 so I can take care of both of them.
Which one was this revised one send out, Dave? Because I
It's
don't.
under 6.4. It was under 6.4. It looks almost exactly like 3.1, but the only thing that changed between the two is we split the 61,000 which was on number 5 to 50,000 for number 5, and I added 11,000 to the safety rail. So, but everything's the same. The old one's under 3.1, the other one was under 6.4.
Dave, on my email, I don't have any attachments.
It's in
it looks like
the
this.
meeting packet. It's just below all the minutes.
Right.
Oh, duh. All right. Thank you, Nate. I was looking in the wrong thing. I appreciate that. All right. So
I can't find Exhibit 8.
It was in the meeting package before. And because I sent you,
Here it is. I see it. Wax.
Wait a
minute.
It's basically how much it cost. I sent you the cost. And there was a state bid that they sent.
all right. Hold on. My thing went all the way to the end. This computer, I'm going to throw it through the wall.
There's the cat.
It's not. That doesn't add up. But
Which one?
I'm looking at.
What are you looking at?
It was It was the new truck, and it said see Exhibit 8. Unless I misread it, the Exhibit 8 is the valve exerciser. No.
Right.
Okay, that's
Exhibit 8
Exhibit
is the
5.
valve
Exhibit 5 is the new 350.
Right.
Yep. And what does that replace, Dave? The F-350.
The 2014.
14. What's wrong with our 2014?
The 2014?
Yeah.
Well, besides it's costing me a lot of money that it's going to be 10 years old.
You want to tell you what? You're probably better sticking with the 2014 than getting a new one.
Yeah, I don't even know when you'd get the new one if you ordered it.
So
Well,
what's wrong? So what's wrong with the truck? That was my original question.
Well, let's say it almost gagged everyone because the catalytic converter was going.
It almost what? Everybody? I'm sorry.
it almost choked everyone because the catalytic converter threw up fumes inside the truck. But it comes down to,
So you're saying there's holes in the firewall.
yeah,
Did you fix that?
we fixed it.
All right.
Okay. And-
It's at the edge of the truck.
The
You got to remember, we are not the cemetery department. When we have a break, we cannot have equipment that may work.
Same with the fire department.
Right. We cannot have things that may work. You can do that in other departments, but for fire, police, and water,
Right.
we don't have an excuse not to be out there. And
Let me ask a quick question. Chaz, on like the fire equipment and stuff, what's the turnaround policy on equipment? Is it 10 years or less, or like the pumpers and stuff like that?
It depends on what it is, but yeah, it's not that long.
If you just put money into that truck, I say get another year out of it. And if I'm wrong, well,
I would have got another year out of it, but to make the plan work where I can cut rates down, that's why we're bundling all these 4 articles and getting rid of 4 years of capital spending.
I'm telling you, wait a year. That price of that truck's going to come way down.
So when was the capital spending on that truck due, Dave? This year?
Next July 1st next year.
So what if we tabled that and put it off a year?
Then you might as well just kill the rates.
But if we're not expending that off,
Over an $80,000 truck? I don't think so. I don't understand how incurring an extra expense is going to kill the rates.
It's not a current. It's replacing the things that are need to be replaced.
So how much do you owe on the note on that 2014?
Nothing.
Okay, so you're going to take something you don't owe anything on. You're going to buy a new vehicle.
If it's costing us $5,000 to $10,000 a year to keep it up.
So what's wrong with the truck now? Back to my original question.
Besides, everything's starting to break on it, and
I want to know what's wrong with the truck.
so
it's not reliable.
wait a minute. So you said the catalytic converter is done. If you had to do other work on it,
Yes.
I didn't see any work orders for that. I didn't sign anything. So Todd must have signed those.
when
We just did it because I told nobody to drive it until it was fixed.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
So I didn't. So, all right.
Well, you did without it for two or 3 weeks. But
What is that?
If you had had an emergency, it would have been make or break.
Possibly, yeah.
Possibly.
So what does that truck do for you on the break?
break is.
So what is that truck? Is that the one that pulls the trailer?
Yes. That's why we're getting a 350.
That's the one that pulls the. So we didn't have to buy another dump truck.
Correct.
They got a trailer at a very different price. That's a lot easier to maintain, but we need a vehicle to tow the trailer.
And that was the plan all along. We didn't need another dump. We didn't need a dump truck. When we replaced this truck, this truck was going to be.
Because then it's dual purpose. It tows. It acts as a dump truck when it's pulling the dump trailer, and then they use it as a work vehicle the rest of the time.
So what's the tongue weight of that trailer?
14.
1,400?
14,500.
14,500? And the truck that you have isn't rated to tow it?
Nope.
So if we said no on the truck, you wouldn't be able to tow your trailer.
Well, they've towed it. You're probably damaging it in the process.
Damaging the truck or the
Right.
trailer.
Mm-hmm.
No, the trailer's fine.
Trailer's fine.
No, when I said damage, I meant damage the existing truck.
Right.
So
If you're over towing, well, what
I can see
Either
someone
or.
that travels, you don't want to do that. And certainly if you're overloading a vehicle, you never want to do that.
correct.
I mean, it's not like this isn't an everyday thing, and this is a small town. So yes, I understand, but if it's not a safety concern, you can do it. I mean, if you have done it, it's probably not a safety concern then, right?
We haven't overloaded that trailer yet.
I'm saying put the truck off another year. You're going to save a butt ton of money.
I don't see why, how, or you would.
Are you saying the interest rates or
There's no interest rates.
Probably, yeah.
or
There's
the
no interest
price?
rates. Probably
No.
both, but
all right, so but the price tag you're talking will come
yeah.
down.
And so I still haven't heard. I asked a question. I've asked it 3 times. What is wrong with that truck right now?
Beyond the catalytic converter, Dave, and the heat shield.
There's some work on this suspension that'll probably have to get done soon. There's some rot in the panels, and it just doesn't.
Some rot in the panels. Like, are we talking about you're about to poke a finger through?
That's right. And then the steering is a little off, so we're probably going to have to do some.
Well, it undergoes a safety inspection, right? So the steering
right.
is taken to that, and it passed its safety inspection.
You know, I'm just going to get rid of the warrant articles and I'm done. You know,
No, Dave.
I'm trying to do my
this is-
job, Dave.
right, but this
and-
is part of the plan. I'm trying to lower the rates, and this is all part of the plan. You know, it's not just 1 year of lowering rates. It's 5
explain
years.
how incurring more expense lowers rates.
So what he's doing is he got the money that he can't reimburse into anything else from the SRF. And he's taking care of 5 years of capital spending over the next 5 years in the warrant articles that he proposed. If he doesn't, the capital spending plan stays as it is. I don't know what exactly we do with the money, but you're still going to have those capital expenses going out. The money isn't coming out of rates. They're coming out of the disbursement we got from SRF that we can't use to pay down any other loans. He's using it to pay for capital expense items that are coming up in the next 5 years, removing them from the capital expense plan, which then allows the rates to come down.
Correct.
And you're talking about this expenditure is going to take place in 2024.
It's. Can I jump in, Todd?
Please.
Sure.
It's the money that Dave is talking about is money from a loan. So you can't take money from a loan to pay a loan. So it needs to be expended.
Right.
And the way he's expending it is taking it and putting it into the capital plan expenditure plan that he has. That's going to reduce the capital plan, but overall it's going to reduce the rates because he's taking care of a portion of money that figures into what those rates are going to be.
I understand. Okay.
So we get a new truck and not necessarily out of monies that the residents have paid. It's out of money that we can't use for pretty much anything else.
Yep.
Okay.
And it takes 5 items off our capital plan over the next 5 years and keeps us on track.
Correct.
Gotcha.
And reduces
All right.
rates by
No.
30%.
Dave,
Wait, you're saying it's going to decrease rates by 30%?
Over 5 years, yes.
well, if you add up the 10, 12, listen, I don't want to go through the percentages again. My brain hurts from all that. What it will do is it helps us meet those 5 and 6% by taking things off the capital plan.
Right.
So
I understand that part. Yeah, I understand. Now, it feels like all this stuff is coming at me, and I haven't even given a time to think about it or see it coming, and it's already there. Okay. The money that I'm seeing going out, it half the time it comes as a surprise to me. So I'd like a little more involvement with the board about what's going on. Talk about a plan, instead of just saying, hey, we're getting a new F-350. It's on the capital plan. Okay. That's where I'm coming from. You understand?
Right, but I brought this up last month, and
I clearly missed it because I didn't see a new truck. I saw a dump trailer. I saw a new backhoe. I saw all this stuff, but I didn't see the truck.
No, the truck was on there. The dump
I'm
is
just,
already
okay.
the
Still,
dump
I didn't
trailer
see
is
it. That's all
the
I'm
dump-
saying. I made a mistake.
the dump trailer was already purchased last year.
right,
The truck was on there. The gate exerciser was on there. The Highland tank wasn't. The engineering for the tank was. So he's reassessed that because you had the 11,000 you needed to
for safety.
for
For the
the
Highland
Highland
tank.
tank. Yeah. So this money can't be spent necessarily any other. So that
I get
part-
it. We're beating a dead horse. No, I'll never get my head around like, hey, we have this money, we have to spend it. Like it's that just I can't wrap my head around.
Unfortunately, like Mike Schrader said, he's never seen this been done before.
No, congratulations. It's
No,
great.
he's not, Nate. He's
nice
not,
to hear the praise.
he's
I'm
he's
not being facetious. I'm serious.
No. And I'll be honest with you, we tried and we couldn't. So he got one over on, actually, that wasn't me, but anyways,
It was very nice to hear.
but no, so that money came in. It does have to be spent in a period of time, and it's about the only thing we can use it to spend on, to be honest with you. So I'd rather take care of the capital plan and use money that, for lack of a better term, is found.
And I will tell you, I would have loved to pay down debt with it, but
That was his first.
they told
That
me
was,
no.
yeah. You can't, like, legally, you cannot pay a loan with another loan. So don't ask me. I don't necessarily agree with it. If you had taken the loan out to pay another loan, I could understand it. But if it's money, anyways, it's the law. So, I will.
Can we do one at a time?
Yeah, but I gotta still find them. My computer I'm having issues with. Give me a
Yeah.
second.
Page no, oh, you don't even see the page number.
I can see the page number. Everything's in blue, and if I hit my computer, it goes all the way up or all the way down.
Oh, you just click the screen.
Yeah, and then I get dropped out.
Oh,
It goes back, and then I have to reopen it, and it's. Oh, wait a minute.
Oh.
Open with. What does it want me to open with? Let's do this. All right,
I think I just
give me
did
a
the same
second.
thing.
What?
I said I think I just did the same thing.
I gotta get a new computer. All right, Mike Schrader, Capital 3.1. All right, no, that's all that. Let's see. All right, I got warrant articles. Transfer the state revolving fund reimbursement to capital spending fund. Oh, I just went white. Why did it go? Nope. There you.
Right, that's the one was replaced by the 11,000. So you got the old one, but that works too.
All right. So warrant article 1 will be, what's the motion to make warrant article number 1?
11,000 for a safety railing cable system for Highland tank.
All right. Number 2?
Number 2 is purchase the gate exerciser vacuum trailer for
Yep.
100,000 and equipment. It's also and equipment.
Yeah. Yep. The F-150 is number 3.
That's 100,000 for the truck and equipment. If we don't spend it all, that's okay. It'll go back to free cash in a year.
Okay.
And then number 4 is replace the backhoe. Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. With the truck, the 350, we're going to offer it to cemetery because cemetery.
The old one, you mean?
Right. They said it's better than what they have, and they don't have to respond to emergencies. So,
All right.
but they said if we give it up, they're going to want it, and it does have some worth, but
They can get that done.
All right.
Right. So that can be part of it. Number 4 is a 2004 backhoe traded in to offset the cost of the new backhoe, and we put in a 170,000 in. But it's 170,000 for a new 2003 backhoe, which is larger than the one we have.
So, question.
I'm at 382.
And,
Is there another
and
one?
It should be 381, but and it's
No, you gotta-
50,000. It's
Oh, I have yeah, you're right. 381.
and it's 50,000 for the engineering for the Lunenburg Road tank, which could supply up to 2,000 residents.
The Lunenburg Road tank. Now you're talking about adding a tank,
Correct.
and that is going on Lunenburg Road. Where?
Have you ever gone up Lunenburg Road and seen the tower that the fire and the police have?
No, actually.
That tower is on the land that was somebody in the past did some good work. They spent the money for a tank parcel on the top of the hill on Lunenburg Road and another tank parcel on Warner Road. Of course, since then, the state bought all the land around it and they can't get access to that one. But
We can get an easement. We can get an easement from the state, but this is what we talked about with the housing trust at the last meeting.
Yes.
So they're going to give us an easement for the.
I thought
booster.
that was a booster. Yeah.
No,
Right.
the easement is for the booster for that tank.
Right.
Correct.
You're in the water, right? So I'm not like heavy in the water industry like you. So
Nope.
you take it for granted. I'm just
No,
I'm
you're
trying
Nate.
to figure it out as I go.
Nope,
So let me
Nate,
make it clear.
Nate, you are
No,
correct about
I think
that.
it is clear. You're gonna the new tank. You have to pump the water to the tank.
Perfect. You got it.
Gotcha. I get it. Okay. So
It's
that
a
all
what if.
totals.
It's a what if because
That adds up to 431.
right.
431
So just so
even.
you know, there's legislation right now that's at the state that gives DEP the authority over private wells. And if they do, yes, and I got another email. I'm just saying, it's what if those private wells up there have a problem, we have a plan in place that we can help them. Mason
Who is-
Road, we're putting part of the bridge project is putting a water line underneath that bridge. We don't have water line out there, but there's a plan in place to supply people out on that area. We thought ahead.
I thought but I didn't think it was on water quality. I thought it was on whether they could, on like drought restrictions and stuff. I didn't know that they were assessing DEP control over, because then,
Water testing.
but DPH has that control. That means you're going to have to change.
Not in the proposed legislation. I read it today. And
Was that something that was put in under the SWIMI?
No, they wanted to. They under SWIMI, they want that so that people who get this later on recording. SWIMI is the Sustainable Water Management Initiative, and it became part of the Water Management Act in 2014. And it has to do with environmental impacts being considered in water withdrawals, along with being able to supply your public. When they were talking about it back at SWIMI, Nate, they were talking about it solely in the regards to response to drought. So like anyone on private wells, they can use their water whenever they want, as much as they want. And so people were deeming that as unfair or what have you. And there have been a couple of communities that have tried to do local bylaws in regards to that, and they pass and then they get overturned the next town meeting. So
Not enforced.
no, the DEP may, if you take it, what happens is people get so aggravated with it that because what it is there are enforcement criteria written into those bylaws, and it got overturned the next town meeting pretty much. I don't think there are any standing local bylaws on private wells anywhere, and I didn't know any water utility that even wanted to touch that.
Yeah, I don't know
But-
how you're going to get somebody into someone's house checking on their stuff. Like that doesn't
Well,
seem.
you won't be able
very
to sell your
easy.
house without one.
Yeah, well, you can't do it anyways now, and it's
Right.
with.
But
I mean,
Just so you know,
Okay.
yeah, no,
this-
I appreciate that. That we're getting it way off
Yep.
track,
Right.
and
Oh,
I
yeah.
apologize.
what,
I apologize.
So what I'm doing is I am protecting the town in the future by having a plan if, you know, and that's it. The big word is if. If something happens that we're going to have to deal with a section of town that needs water, then we have a plan in place. And we don't have to look for a tank parcel or a booster pump. It's already set. And
Gotcha.
and you know, it's protecting as many people in this town as I possibly can with not expending a huge amount of funds.
Dave, does the tank on Lunenburg Road, does that give us any help on is it West Meadow? Where's the condos?
West Meadow.
Does that give any assistance to the pressure going up?
No.
Damn.
Now, that's something that I'd have to talk to Ashby with, and getting a piece of land up West Meadow Road, but I'm looking at population.
No, I
And
that's
I have to make the most of.
I get
I
that,
have
Dave.
2,000 residents. I have maybe 150. So
No, I get that. That's one of the areas that we have issues with. So, all right,
I'm prioritizing for population of the town that I can affect.
all right.
Here's a
So,
question on the fifth on the plan and engineer Lindbergh water tank. Now, once the engineering is done and the plan is made, how long is that plan good for?
Permanently.
permanently. So we don't.
Indefinitely, okay.
Yeah, it's like we did one in Chelmsford. We're doing an engineering plan because the culvert that goes to the office and the transmission main from the wells is in that road. The culvert itself is starting to fade or fail. It's not failing, but you definitely see issues with it. They are going to go as far as doing all the engineering to replace it, and then replace it at a point in time when they can finance it. So those engineering reports, so long as you have them, you keep them. They're good once they're stamped.
Okay. Now, Dave, do you have a prospective date for a tank placement, or is that way out?
That's where. So right now. I took care of Mason Road in that area. I'm taking care of Lunenburg Road. Next part. Remember, it's going to be all. It's all going to be flexible. It's all going to depend on if this part of town has a problem. Then we focus on that. So what I'm actually doing is making packages to deal and be flexible enough to deal with any part of the town that may have a problem. And so the next part I'm going to do is focus on West Meadow to see if I can find a tank parcel somewhere and then work on that one. But
I know that Dave, I haven't looked at our volumes versus what we're registered and permitted for. I'm going to assume we're below it. Could you, if you were going to talk to Ashby, and again, this is kind of off topic a little bit, but if you were going to talk to Ashby, I know that they have manganese issues on a lot of their wells and in the center of town that are significant. Have you ever talked to them about hooking up?
not yet, because it's not the time yet.
All right.
I got to focus on our own residents first.
That's fine, but I just
Now,
that
we are going to be permitted with the treatment plant for 3.7 million gallons a day. Our peak use last summer was 1.2.
So that's permitted and registered or just permit? Is it
Permitted
just
and
permit?
registered.
How does the treatment plant change the permitting?
So we had to shut it because it allows us
Okay,
to-
I get it because you had
We-
2 well sites shut down or decreased.
Right.
Okay.
and Witchesburg 2 is on the border of being shut down without the treatment plant.
What is our peak usage, or what was our peak usage permitting for water taking when
Last
we were
year?
at full capacity with all the
Before
pump stations,
PFAS.
excluding Cross Street? 'Cause
Oh,
that was
we
off for a
can't
while.
because I fixed all the brakes. It was between 1.7 and 1.8. We got it down to 1.2 because we used to have 30% or between 30 and 38% unaccounted for water. This year it was 4. We fixed all the brakes, we're tightening up everything, and we're much more efficient.
So you're almost talking 2.5 in excess.
Correct.
How much is that reliable? I know that's legal capacity. So Nate, so I don't overspeak. You have legal capacity and that's what you're registered and you're permitted for. That's what you legally can take. Then you actually have physical capacity and that's what the wells in the treatment plant. You're going to lose a little bit of capacity off the wells with the treatment plant. Not much, but you lose a little bit. But what's our physical capacity, Dave?
Between 4.5 and 5.
You think so?
100% no, because I when we did Main Street, I overbuilt it for 850 gallons per minute,
All right.
and we're permitted for 6.
All right. So if we've got 2.5 in excess,
And I'm going to tell you, with this project, we're putting bigger motors in the 3 wells, and they're maxed out, and we'll be able to do probably about 30 to 40% over the 2.5.
yeah, but you got to see what your drawdowns are when you do it.
I know what the drawdown is when we put Harbor Trace on full, about 3 feet.
All right. All right. Well, we can tackle that another day, but it does give us the ability to have additional revenue and other things like that. So, all
I
right.
mean, like,
One more quick question.
Yes, sir.
So if these warrant articles fail and you're left with the money, you have to wait till the next. You have to change
Can't
it
even
to
wait
free
till the
cash and then wait a year.
What do we do with it if it doesn't get expended, Dave?
Yeah, that's what I'm asking.
It sits.
You can't
It's
use it
big.
on anything until the next annual meeting.
No, not even the next annual meeting. It has to be deemed as free.
So we have
cash.
to wait until it goes into free cash, the like in a year.
Yes.
Ah,
Well, likely they'll pass
I'm hoping so.
unless somebody says, "Hey, everybody vote no on these."
Well, so if it passes, we in the next 5 years we can cut 30% off your rates.
That would
No,
be a
let's-
good thing to say in the meeting if anybody is a naysayer.
Yeah, no kidding.
And you gotta instead of saying cut 30% off your rates, because to anybody, I'm
Oh,
sure that means
reduce-
instant. You're gonna have to say a period of time when you say numbers like that, Dave. Please.
Right.
Yeah. Let's work on our communication before that.
Right.
I think.
But this is what I'm telling you. It's if it passes, we're almost at 30% of
Over
reducing
5 years.
Over 5
over
years.
5 years.
Thank-
Because we're at 58% and we'll be down in the 20s.
All right.
And I tell you, I feel so much more comfortable with those numbers than what I was going to deal with because it's
All right.
scary.
So we have 1, 2, 3. So one is the warrant articles. Do you want me to take a swing at one? The first one, Nate?
Oh, please do.
I make a motion that we set a warrant article for the transfer of the state revolving fund reimbursement to the capital spending fund for the water department.
Oh, you don't have to do that one. You just have
Oh,
to,
okay. All right.
you just have to create the 5 warrant articles.
Oh, well, There's 4. No, 5. You're right. Hold on.
Right, because I found out we don't have to do that. We just have to, because we
All
have,
right. All right. I make a motion that we use $100,000 of the state revolving reimbursement to the capital spending fund for the water department for the purchase of a gate exerciser, vacuum trailer, and equipment from fiscal year 2024.
right, it originally wasn't 2024, but we kept it off to keep the rates at 5%.
Don't need to put that in the motion.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any conversation? Hearing none, I'll put it to a vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Matala, aye.
I make a motion. We transfer $100,000 from the state revolving reimbursement to the capital spending fund for the water department for the purchase of a new F-350 utility truck and equipment to replace the 2014 utility truck.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Matala, aye.
Okay. Oh, I need that other one. You had to put these on 2 different pages. I make a motion that we transfer from the state revolving fund reimbursement to the capital expending fund for the water department in the amount of $170,000 to replace the 2004 backhoe with a new 2023 Cat 440 backhoe.
You don't have to put the rest of it in.
I didn't. That's why I
Se-
stopped.
Second.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Matala, aye.
Make a motion to transfer from the state revolving fund reimbursement to the capital spending fund for the water department in the amount of $50,000 for the plan and engineering of the Lunenburg water storage tank.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Matala, aye.
All warrant articles are passed.
All except for
So
one.
what about number 1 for 11?
Oh, damn.
which is the
Excuse my language. Yeah, I know what it is.
Okay.
I make a motion to transfer from the state revolving reimbursement to the capital spending fund for the water department for the harness and safety railing with kick plate for the Highland storage tank in the amount of $11,000.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Matala, aye.
All right. Sorry on that last one.
Dave, are you going to be reading those?
Yes,
Okay.
I will be.
Okay. 3.2. Discuss and review procedures for signing warrants. Where is that on here?
Is this what you wanted to talk about in the minutes?
No, this is, I don't know what,
This is
Well,
where
it's
we
kinda
wanted
the
to sign
same
stuff
thing.
Twice.
So we discussed this. This is actually in the meeting minutes of last meeting, 4.1, 4.2.
Yeah.
Or 4.1, where we said that I raised concerns about being the sole signatory on larger warrants.
so did you write? Yeah, and we are now both signing the SRF ones. I thought we agreed to this in the last meeting.
Right. So
Yeah.
we did. We did. I don't know why it's here. I think it's. I mean, what's?
May I interject?
I think it's a.
Yes.
The reason we put this back on is we were going to continue to discuss it and talk about the stamp, as Chaz had mentioned before, to get the stamp.
Nah, thank you.
That is-
Yep.
That is listed in 3.2. There's 2 pages. If you want to sign the first or second page, you can sign it and they can make the stamp up if you choose to go that route. But as Chaz had mentioned in the last meeting, that I would need an
Vote.
email from you approving me to use the stamp. So
Okay.
that's why it's on this one as well, because we had.
Okay, now I remember. I
Okay.
actually remember that part of the conversation
All
now.
right, now I'll
Thank
mute
you, Brent.
myself. I apologize.
There you go. No,
So-
you helped us out of a conundrum.
we're going to vote to authorize via email signatures be
Via stamp.
well, the signatures need to be via stamp, but authorized each time through email
Correct.
or verbal. Or is that
I'd
No,
rather-
email only. Email
has
only
to be
because
okay, so it has to be email to have that paper trail.
Yes.
But what about a text message?
No.
It's in writing.
has
no?
to be email.
I want to be able to attach it to the so that we know that we used it and it was
Okay.
proper.
No, that's good. That's I
Covered
just-
all bases.
No,
I
it's
know-
it's sound practice.
text messages, I mean, like they use it in court in lieu of emails and correspondence. So I didn't know if it's just fine. I'm fine with that. That's
All
good.
right. Do we need a motion for that? Or you just need to send us the signing thing?
I would make a motion.
Yeah.
All
I
right.
would make a motion. And
I will have that available to you the next time you come in to sign the warrants, just to sign your name, and then I can go ahead and order the stamps.
All
It'll
right.
be a few weeks before we get them, but
No, that's all right.
How much are these
Um,
stamps going to cost?
there are, let me see, I think $34. $34.50 for the self-inking one.
Nathan, you want to take this one?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Water Commissioners vote. Wait a minute. Do I need to move to vote? I move that the Board of Water Commissioners employ a combination email, rubber stamp signing policy
For warrants.
for warrants. There's more than just warrants.
Yeah, there is.
Bills
payable.
receivable.
Bill and warrants. Yeah. Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Sorry about that. I delayed. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
Motion's made and passed. 3.3, discuss, amend, vote, policies, procedures.
I'm sorry,
Um,
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I want to amend that motion. We should include abatements, adjustments. We should
All right.
include all that stuff.
Do you want to reread it?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I move that the Board of Water Commissioners employ a signature policy that authorized through email may be rubber stamped in the absence of physical presence.
Second.
For,
Oop.
for abatements, adjustments, warrants, bills receivable, and end month reports.
Second. Very well done, sir. Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
That was a tough one. Did good job.
Oh, thank you, Todd.
You're welcome. All right, 3.3. Discuss, vote, amend policies, procedures, vehicle logs, vehicle and personal accountability content, job descriptions. This is all
what you talked about
So
earlier.
Todd, I
The
had asked to put this stuff on. So if you allow me to bring you through what I was thinking.
go right ahead, sir.
So, as you know, I've been on the Board of Water Commissioners for quite a long time. I think I was in like 7 years before we had our new superintendent, Dave, who's done a tremendous job. Thank you. So I was looking for some of these policies we came up with, and I was told that a lot of this stuff may have disappeared when we had Yeah, when we lost our old superintendent, I guess the TA had came in and erased computers, taken files. I don't know what was done with them, but I think now is right now is when we're beginning to see the actual damage of this, because when I had asked about policies, procedures, stuff that previous boards that I was on, where this stuff is, I couldn't get an answer. So all that work that we had done and all the forethought that went into it was pretty much lost. So I wanted to revisit and see what we have. I also saw some new policies and procedures submitted by Dave, and I think that the board should review that. And we got to clean this up.
So one thing I will say is the policies I saw are actually town policies, I believe, not
That is
strictly
correct.
Yeah,
strictly
I'm-
water department
I'm-
policies.
I'm totally down to look at town policies and adopt them if we see fit, and change them if we see fit for that. There's some that are just there and we have to abide by, because there's some crossover with the town as well as the union. But I think, we got this PFAS under wrap. We have, Dave isn't acting as the, oh crap, the 3-letter. He wanted to act as the, not SRO.
You mean the OPM?
OPM, thank you. So, not incurring as much as a burden as we have, I want to take a look at these. I want to see what Dave has, because I saw one on the desk the other day and I said, okay. And so prior to you becoming our superintendent, this is all stuff that would have come before the board before being enacted as a policy. And I just want to let that be known, because I'm not sure how you were used to dealing with stuff on your district when you worked for Chelmsford.
But I will tell
Okay.
you, I have not set any policy.
No, I saw what
No.
was in writing, and I didn't know when this was going to come before us.
It's not, because it's not. I didn't set policy. I used the union contract, and I just took the union contract and say we're not following it, and we have to follow the union contract and town policy.
Okay, right, that's good. Everybody should be familiar with the contract as they signed it, or maybe
Right.
they didn't sign it. That's happened before. So what I'm seeing here is we have work and office hours, Townsend Water Department. It's in the font I think you use, and it's numbered and dated. Okay, this particular one for work and office hours is dated 26th of September 2023. So this was not too long ago you came up with this. Do you want to clue us into what made you put this on paper and put it in the...
Well,
if it's already to a contract that someone signed, what was your intention?
Well, there have been some abuses from a few people of not coming in, either not coming in time or not taking lunch, or it's just cleaning up things to make sure everyone is on the same page. The office hours are published by union contract. The hours of personnel to be there in the contract is 7 to 3:30. The office hours that are published on the town website and on the door that has been on there since forever, because it's in writing on the door, is 9 to 3 o'clock. That's why we have our part-time person come in at 9 to 3. So to cover the office hours. So, it's just reiterating that this is the work hours, these are the office hours, this is what should be happening.
Okay.
And make it very, very clear that
So
there's
this
no
is
policy.
this is
this is-
exact verbiage from the contract.
Correct.
You're telling me that this is exact verbiage from the contract. It has not been changed at all.
Has not been changed at all. And if you look at what I wrote, it always references the union contract.
For personnel working meeting hours, you will receive 2 hours minimum. It doesn't sound like verbiage from the contract. I'm just a little surprised. I'm taken back with some of the stuff that I read. Like, whoever's typing this up, I just found it was a little bit. It didn't seem like it was a contract.
It's just it's referencing the contract. If you get a call out, it's 2 hours minimum. So, and it's just, and to be fair for the ladies, if we have a meeting that's 20 minutes, it's a 2-hour call out. The same as the guys, they're in the same union.
So in the union, in this, and I'm allowed to read this document you published,
Yep.
right? Or copied.
Just as long as we don't read the
breaks.
contract itself.
Breaks and lunch are mandatory as per union contract. Why would they reference that if this is from the union contract?
Because people aren't taking them.
Why would they put it in their own contract? Why would they put that?
I've
verbiage
also
in?
been yelled at by the union for
I'm
people
asking-
not taking lunch and breaks and working through them. And
Are
I
you-
was told that will not happen.
You're
All right.
telling me that the union has been proactive in telling you what you shouldn't do, but when we ask them all sorts of questions, it's difficult to get an answer?
That's correct.
Hmm.
I have been burned by the union telling me that union members will take lunch.
That is true.
Right. So you really have to be strict about that. I get it.
I have to. I don't have a choice.
I want right. No, I'm not saying you. I'm just saying you, the entity. You have to make sure that it's done. So
Right.
okay. So that's all being done.
Correct.
What is? I'm looking at the verbiage they use, and it's very. Some of this is like very ambiguous. Or field crew needing to finish a task. There is a 15-minute break. There is a 15-minute break in the morning and a cleanup period in the afternoon.
Correct. By
So
union
that-
contract.
Right. Okay. No, that's fine. I just didn't.
And Nathan, just to clarify, the lunch thing is basically because of me. So I know Dave didn't want to mention my name.
I've got to do a
It's not-
point. I've got to do a point of order.
You
here.
can't mention people. You can't
Well, I was
say.
mentioning myself. So.
You
You
can't.
still can't mention
can't.
it in
But this is
open meeting.
why I wanted this in executive session.
And Mr. Chair,
Okay,
I do
let's-
suggest that if you're going to go over any type of situation like this, it really should be in an executive session. It shouldn't be in an open session.
Okay. Well, out of an abundance of caution, why don't we do that?
All right.
And but I want to review. It's silly because we've only been asking to have a seat at this table for a long time, and we were told we were going to, and we have yet to have an invitation.
For
And
union negotiations.
this is some of the crossover that I'm talking about. That we have little idea as to what's going on, and well,
Well, they're doing
I
the.
can serve my constituency so much better.
Can I ask a question? When was this negotiated, Dave? When was this last contract?
2016.
Last contract was negotiated in 2016.
So and correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't we trying to set it up so that we are going to renegotiate all of the contracts within the next year or two, right?
Everyone's been done except for water.
And why is that?
I don't know. I'm not part of the union and I don't get a say in the matter.
So if they're in the process of doing the new contract, this would be, I think, the first time that, as Nate said, we would have a seat at the table.
Correct. So that's what I'm
I think they're almost done. But I'm not sure.
who's negotiating it?
The town manager, Eric,
And the union.
in the union. I'm not allowed in the negotiations.
I disagree with that. But anyway, Mr. Chair, I'll task myself with looking into this with the town administrator because you should have a voice in there.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Let's okay, so yes, out of an abundance of caution, we're not going to proceed any further because we're going down a rabbit hole.
Yeah,
It's
I'd
gonna
be
happen.
I'd just be
Yeah.
careful, Nate.
Thank you. All right. Well, I don't know, say we table it for executive session, or
Table it until you,
there's certainly some concerns I want brought up, and I don't want to start something where we create a situation where it could damage the unit.
right.
All right. I appreciate that, Nate.
But seriously, there's some serious issues we got to talk about.
Understood.
So if you don't mind me suggesting, Todd, how do I put this? Is it general policy or is it specific policies that deal with employees? Like employees' work?
I can speak to what I was concerned about.
Yeah,
I'm concerned about procedure, accountability for supplies, equipment, and personnel a little bit more so of a safety thing.
Yeah.
And some other general policy. You guys know I brought up the logo. Well, I've been approached. Someone watched the meeting, and oh yeah, it's happening. So that pump house is our logo. It's always been our logo. And if did I hear someone say that logo is in the contract? I find it hard to believe that a union.
The logo is not in the contract, but the right for what they put on the pumps is
you said
in the
name
contract.
tag. Right. So, well, that's okay. I'm not gonna.
But it is on the truck. The new one is on the new truck for the pump house. Because
So
Excellent.
we can. All right.
The last thing I want is a granite piece outside that new treatment plant with something that does not belong.
I totally agree with you.
Okay. Thank you.
So I would suggest, Nate, that if you can put together, like, break it down and I mean, I understand what you're trying to do, but I think it needs to be in smaller pieces.
I need to know where to start from, because we have personnel policies and procedures. I don't know if this is. I need a place to fit this in and not seem. I don't want it redundant. I also don't want it in an arbitrarily placed. So I wanted to see what we had, and there's a lot of stuff that was lost, destroyed, deleted. I don't know. I don't even know. Like,
Well,
some of these rules and regs, I see. There's one rule and reg that we came up with about trenching and burying water lines, customers doing their own water lines. That's here. But where's all the other stuff?
Yeah.
So I'm doing a little check, and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. And I don't know how it happened. Maybe it was the previous TA that accidentally, maybe, or I don't even want to suggest the other one.
Don't be.
This is outrageous. The damage that has been done, and we're gonna fix it.
So
Right.
again, I would suggest that you would have a conversation with Eric, or I can entertain. I think maybe the three of us can sit down and talk about what we have. Is there may be some data that Dave is not privy to, or the water department that's on the server? I don't know, but that's something we need to take to general, so that I'll be able to do some investigating and see what I can do to help you dig up whatever documents you're looking for.
But I will tell you, personal policy is the union contract. And
we understand that.
We're not telling personnel what to do and when to do it. I at the most, it would be a guideline of how the water department would want to retain certain information, accountability, stuff like that.
Yep. So I'm sure that the documentation is somewhere. Let's see if we can get the hands on it first before we go any further, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Okay.
No, that's I've been looking for this stuff for a couple weeks. I have actually more than 7 years. 7 years prior to Dave's arrival, filled with a file cabinet filled with stuff. And I can go through it page by page, but if it's in a computer somewhere, that'd be great.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
we'd have to look for it, and if it's not, then I would say that yes, we'd have to go through that. What you have.
I will tell you, I had a blank computer when I got here.
Yeah. No, that's what it sounds like. I was surprised.
I had a blank computer when I got here.
I will
There was nothing
confirm that
wrong.
as well. There was an incident that all the documentation from Paul's computer was gone overnight. So I don't know what happened to it, but that's all.
Same with a lot of files, Nate.
Yes, and they were all on a shared, he had his own superintendent shared drive, so I didn't have access to that. So all that's lost.
But a lot of the hard copy files.
I that's all I can
So-
tell you.
We're gonna move past it and rebuild and
Yep.
be better than ever. Believe me.
All right. 3.1, 3.3 done?
Yes.
Okay. 4.1. You got anything else, Nate? For
I was approached by a citizen on South Street that said something about discolored water in a toilet, and I said, anytime you have discolored water, please call the department so they can try to map out what's going on. It brought me to a point where if this is if something is known to be going on, if there can be a quick post, hey, residents in the area, you may experience discolored water, call me, I'll share it.
the other thing too, Nate, you could do this yourself because I believe, Chaz, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we talked about this. There's the website has the e-alert capability to send out an email when something's posted to the website.
Mm-hmm.
Hold on one second.
They have to be signed up for the department. So the people need to be signed up for the water department. And then Dave, you can send something in to have it on the e-alert, and it will, it'll send out an email to those who are subscribed to the e-alert. for
Yeah,
the
so
water
it
department.
requires, I'm actually going to do it right now. But Nate, if you want to do that, when they post it to the water department, it'll send you an email. So there's a water main break, say, right?
I receive like hundreds of emails through six different email addresses like every day. So if I turned my notifications on for email, it would
You'd kill your
let's
phone.
just say it's not going to happen. I'm a one-man show. I'm the guy touching the tools, making the phone calls, doing the paperwork.
All
I
right.
would love nothing more to be retired and do that, but I can't. But
Nate,
if I get
yeah.
a phone call, hey, we got a break, I'm
All
gonna
right.
go looking for the thing. Hey,
All right.
or if I find it somewhere else, like.
Or even if now,
But someone approaches
Water
me on the
department
street
has a-
and they say, "Oh, I got discolored water." I'm looking at them. Well, I don't know why. Well, it could just be up the road. They're cutting a main. They had to shut something down for a second. They reversed the flow. I didn't know that. And it is a lot. If I can finish my thought, it's a lot to say. Okay, Mr. Commissioner, guess what we're doing today? This is but it's better to know than not, and be able to tell people, say, hey, this is what's going on. But I don't mind saying, hey, just call the water department and tell them what's going on either. But I'd like to, if I can tell them something, I'd like to.
one quick question or to ask them too, Nate, that might help them out is, I'm fine. Discolored water is not a Townsend specific issue. It's fairly probably, you look at what's happening in Littleton, Chelmsford, Westford, Billerica, you name them. But one of the things I found, especially in Chelmsford, were hot water tanks. Ask them if they've ever flushed out their water tank.
Well, this was in a toilet.
No, but what happens is a lot of these homes have mixing valves now, so you don't have two separate faucets. So the valves really don't separate. So if the hot water gets discolored, it does carry over to the hot water, to the toilet, to the cold water. It can affect toilets. The other thing is have them, Dave and them, just have them call the town. You don't need to go into this. I'm sorry.
Right.
I'm going into my environmental compliance
I
mode.
really don't mind going through all that stuff, and I have. I said, well, make sure it's not.
Yep.
There was a toilet. I didn't even think about cross, but yeah.
But the other is the back of the toilet. A lot of times if you don't, it doesn't need to be scrubbed, but if you just mix it up and flush it clear, it'll stop a lot of it. But anyways, that's few and far between. I agree with Nate, but the other thing too is, the water department has its own Facebook that they've used for other items and stuff like that. So I just be careful on how much we use those, just because I don't want to. But yeah, a heads up if there is a major problem would be beneficial for both Nate and I
We
think.
talked about an emergency break. I can see maybe not getting the noti or getting a notification from Dave because he's all hands. He's going to be running around trying to take care of a break. But
Fire
flow
flows.
tests,
Yeah.
fire department operations, all that stuff. Yeah, we talked about that. And then scheduled work. Scheduled work would be nice.
So just a heads up email to maybe Nate and I on stuff like that, Dave.
There's
Yeah, every
There's gotta
scheduled work
be-
I've been putting in my updates, and there hasn't been anything that has stuck out. And
Okay.
and
Okay.
if I get any news from the fire department about them doing any work, I'm lucky.
Well, let's
Even-
work on
even though
that then.
I've mentioned it to him before, but
So
that's another thing.
Okay.
But yes, we will make sure that.
okay.
But I'll get to the update, which will answer some of those questions.
All right. Nate, are you all set? 4.1.
Yes.
All right. 5.1.
I'm all set. I've tasked myself.
There we go. All right. 6.1. Update and discuss PFAS Harbor Trace Treatment Plant.
Okay. One, water lines have been tested today for bacteria. We're hoping it clears tomorrow. And this discolored water that you've been seeing, a lot of that will be leaving when we switch over the mains.
You got to do a second test though, right, Dave? Or is that the second test?
That's the second one.
All right. So that you know, Nate, when they do a water main,
They got to
They-
test it.
well, they pressurize it first to make sure it's put together and not leaking. Then they chlorinate it. It sits for 24 hours. You flush it, it sits, then you test it the next day. You have to have 2 consecutive clean samples. And so when he was saying that it was tested, this is the second set. So they should be able to operate it if that second test passes.
So what this is going to change is the wells on Witches Brook will travel a mile to Harbor Trace. In that mile, till the treatment plant is operational, whatever sediment is will settle into that main. Eventually, when the treatment plant goes online, all that water will go directly straight into the treatment plant, not into people's houses, not. So it will just putting the water line in and having an operation will mitigate a lot of discolored water, especially in Timberley Park.
Well, and then you won't also have the
washing machine stuff.
change in flows from the different wells.
Right. So that's gonna help tremendously, even
Right.
before the treatment plant. So I've been pushing to get that on. So with that, next week we are scheduled to pave curb to curb on South Harbor Road. And to
Okay.
we can only patch Ash Street till the spring, and then Ash Street will be paved curb to curb. In the summer, Harbor Trace Road will be paved curb to curb, but you have to let the road settle for 90 days. So the only one we can do curb to curb, because it hits the 90 days as of the 14th of October, is South Harbor Road. Everything else will be patched.
That's going to
All
be really good. I know a lot of those residents have had enough with the dust and the bumps and
Right, but that road is going to be better.
Oh,
than
yeah.
it started, because it's going to be completely rebuilt. They rebuilt the drains that they crossed because those drains were Swiss cheese and they're in horrible shape. Were in horrible shape. They did a great job, and so we're hoping for
long as
better
those-
things.
Go ahead, Nate.
I'm sorry, Dave. I cut you off.
We're hoping for better things and taking care of the people. And we added another 2 feet of width of pavement for a future bike lane that can be painted by the town
On South Harbor.
on South Harbor.
All right.
The floors of the building there's one more pour, but the PFAS plant's done. The office is done. The garage needs to be poured. That's going to be the end of this week. Walls began today, and they were up about 3 or 4 feet on the treatment plant already. The iron comes in a few weeks. It's sitting in the yard, and that's going to be going up there, and they're hoping to close it all in by December,
All right.
and they'll work on it all summer. So that's the plan.
All winter.
Right, for the winter. I'm sorry, for the winter. I'm already thinking about warmer weather.
I know.
I don't like snow, but so that's the plant. Distribution for 540 Main Street was voted on at the special town meeting, and as soon as we move out, it belongs to the town.
Okay.
And if they want the furniture, they can have it, but otherwise, we're going to get a dumpster and we're going to junk it, or anyone can have it, because the building is coming fully furnished.
All right, Dave, I would, either Habitat for Humanity or a couple others, if the furniture is in any sort of shape, I'd like to see if we can. Do we have to
Anything-
vote? Do we have to vote to turn it to surplus, Chaz?
Yes.
We can do that at one of our meetings, though, correct? After we move out.
Correct.
Do we need
Yeah,
an
that-
itemized list of things that we're deeming surplus, or can we
Yeah.
just say all contents?
Actually,
All contents left.
The building and the contents belong to the town.
It has to be under a certain amount too, just so.
Okay.
But
Right.
all the building and the contents belong to the town.
What, Chaz? What do you mean it needs to be under a certain amount? Is this like an appraised value that we're supposed to set
Well,
to
I-
it and say, okay, this is probably this, and
Yep.
okay.
Most of the value of the stuff is probably zero. But it's, for instance, if you had a truck and it was valued over, I forget what the threshold is, 10,000, 20,000, then you can't surplus
Donate it. Okay.
You can't donate it and you can't surplus it. You have to
Right.
have to
All
take
right.
care of it. That's all I'm saying. So instead of lump summing it, you surplus your chairs, you surplus your desks, that kind
All
of
right.
stuff.
That's what we're leaving. All the computers are going, because in the last 2 years, in anticipation, I've updated all the computers, because then it's just taking the computer and plugging it into the new the slot. So
Network,
everything is
yeah.
ready to move, because I've been working on this for 2 years. Anticipation. All the computers are up to date. So the computers and monitors are going. All they have to do is plug in to the outlet, and they're in business.
All right.
One more question about this appraisal. Is there like a form or something that a guide to follow, so it's all done apples to apples?
Not
Or is
really.
they can just assign any value they see.
Yeah,
fit?
you put it on whatever your letterhead is and say we're going to surplus.
Gotcha.
You know, like the library always does monitors at the same time, so it's 15 monitors surplus, and then we get rid of it.
You have to have that valuation, though.
Yep.
Okay, I just
Yep.
figured Massachusetts would have come up with something to to make us jump through hoops.
I'm sure that there's a forum if you want me to dig one
No,
out.
no,
but-
no, no.
We got some 30-year-old desks that anyone can have, and
Well-
a conference table from back in the 1800s.
I don't think anybody can have it. It needs to be deemed surplus. There's a bunch
Correct.
of rules for that.
Yeah.
Right, but there's going to be very little value to anything we're leaving.
So, all right. 3.3, discuss and review estimate for
We already
safety.
did that.
All
That's
right.
warrant Article 1.
All right.
And
Six.
we're
6.4.
We're all set for tonight. We got
All right.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Oh,
We got to schedule next meeting.
I was just gonna say.
Yeah, you can't do that one yet.
Well, I could have added it into after
Yeah,
session.
You could have.
Let's do it after. Can you do it after the town meeting?
When's the
Yeah.
town meeting?
Either the 14th or the Tuesday the 14th, or
Saturday the 18th.
the 18th.
So it would make it November 20th.
Okay, I can do it.
Because also the Friday before the town meeting is a holiday.
Chaz, you
Okay.
good for the 20th?
Yep, I'm good.
I'm good.
Okie dokie. Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I move.
Excuse me, I hate to interrupt. Before you do that, are we going to plan an executive session for next time, or are you going to do that later on down the road?
Let's,
Well, let's
Let them meet
plan
with the
it.
town
If-
administrator.
I think we should talk with the town administrator.
Okay,
and
so I'm
see
going to
what's
leave it
going
off for
on.
next time, and you just let me know when you want to put it on. Okay.
Chaz, are you going to do that as liaison, or do you want one of us to talk with them, or?
Whatever you guys want to do.
you're
Okay.
running with this. Do you want to do it, Nate? Talk to Eric about it?
Absolutely. Yeah,
All right.
I'll stop down there tomorrow.
Good enough, my friend.
Okay, so I'll leave it off for now. Thank you.
We can add it before, I mean, we've got over a month. If we need to, we're not setting the agenda
Somebody
just
gonna
right
let me
now.
know. That's all. Just let
There,
Understood.
there is work that can definitely be done that doesn't have any interference with the union contract for sure.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
All
we
right.
can.
All right.
I'll get my ducks in a row.
There we go.
Okay,
Six-
Mr. Chairman,
Take it away.
I move that we review review monthly abatements and adjustment list, review and approve and month reports receivable and bills payable warrants out of session.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting of the Townsend Board of Water Commissioners at 9:35 on October 16th.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Roll call vote. Todd Melanson, aye.
Nathan Madela, aye.